Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us. My name is Barbara Higgins. I'm the Director of Safety and Student Engagement at the County Office of Education. And I am very, very pleased to present to you today Mrs. Madrigal-Weiss, who's the Executive Director, and Ms. Heather Nemour, who's the Program Specialist of the Student Wellness and School Culture Department at the San Diego County Office of Education. And they'll be presenting today on cultivating resilience and mental strength during challenging times. Want to let you know that if there's time at the end, we'll be taking questions, and also all of the resources that you see here, including the slide deck, will be provided via the Connection Hub, and I'll put that information in the chat. So you're in for a great next hour, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Welcome all to our session. My name is Heather Nemour, as Barbara mentioned, with County Office, and my co-presenter today, Mara.
Yes, it's Mara Madrigal-Weiss. Thank you so much for being here. We have a lot to share with you, and we're looking forward to it. So with that, let's get started, Heather.
All right. Thank you. So this is a training we have really been doing for the past couple of years across the county to support our 42 school districts and charters and our partners, all around just cultivating wellness for our adults and our educators. So we're really excited to be here today and share a lot of the same information that we've been sharing across the county, actually, and the state. So our learning objectives today, you can see here, we're going to be looking at the importance of resiliency and wellness, and looking at what is resiliency and defining that. And the majority of this session will be focusing on strategies to cope with stressors that are all evidence-based, and they are things that we can all do in a moment's notice to be able to bring down the levels of anxiety and stress and just cope with navigating daily challenges. And then lastly, we'll be identifying self-care practices that really can lift spirits, calm anxieties as well. So starting here, I had to remove something. Okay, so going forward, just to set the context for this presentation, we all know there are many issues affecting mental health and wellness, not just with adults, but also with our youth. We see there are increased rates of mental health conditions. We know 18% of the population is affected by an anxiety disorder, and 20% of American adults experience a mental health disorder. In 2019, and as the pandemic continues, it all has put a big toll on our physical and mental health. So we are, when we work with educators in our county and across the state, they're saying it already feels like May and we're in October. There just is a sense of just exhaustion and burnout. We are seeing increased substance use across youth and adults, but what we know in San Diego County, there was a 50% single year increase in substance use deaths. We know that there's higher domestic violence and child abuse rates. A lot of social isolation. Even as we come back into the school setting, there are still many that experience social isolation, and it's really impacted the disruption of extended family networks. And so not, being able to have these visits with our extended family members and like we used to. And then just the ongoing chronic uncertainty, whether it was lockdowns or schools being in, schools being out, masking, vaccines, sub shortages, staff shortages, just ongoing uncertainty. And then most importantly, we are seeing a loss of social skills. Adults behaving badly, fighting, behavior issues, and we're not talking just students here, we're talking adults, and just adults really becoming very reactive in situations, and so creating these behavior issues that can actually extend to our young people as well. All right. So in knowing that today we are all more than employees, most of us here represent a sector or organization, but beyond that, We are all spouses, we are sons, daughters, siblings, aunts, uncles, friends, colleagues, mentors, and neighbors. And more importantly, we are all human beings just trying to do our best every day. So everything we're sharing today with these strategies really apply to the multiple hats that we all wear. And we all have shared or collective trauma, and how we move forward to do that, to move towards more healing-centered engagement, comes with this. So what we need most now, more than ever, is the feeling of a sense of safety. Feeling safe is important. After all of our basic needs are met, feeling safe and secure, it's just essential before anyone can focus on relationships, learning, or any other opportunities for personal success. Connectedness, being able to have a connection with others, having systems of support to be able to support us adults, and we'll talk more about that. And then finding that balance, right? When the lines are so blurred sometimes with our new way of normal in our work worlds and our school worlds, how do we find those lines of balance to ensure that we are really promoting wellness? And then lastly, hope. Being able to, through everything that we've all experienced the past couple of years, all of the challenges, through that, how can we really manage to find opportunity for growth and for hope? And being able to realize that with crisis also comes opportunity, and moving towards hope. And there's a whole science of hope. And more recently, last week, we did a statewide meeting with educators. And one trend we heard across was there's a sense of a loss of hope, which we really need to instill hope in all that we do with our adults and our young people. So how do we do all this? It all starts with resiliency and being able to tap into the resiliency we all have. And we always say kids are so resilient. They're able to bounce back, and so are adults. And knowing that we all can bounce back stronger than we were before. And it really happens and develops through practice. And so just important to know, we all have resiliency. We can all strengthen it, we can increase it, and do it through the different kinds of strategies we'll be sharing with you today. So our shared definition for resilience here is how we weather the storms in life and rebound after something difficult. And it's our ability to be resilient. It's fostered in our daily habits. So knowing that everyone has resilience inside of them, we can cultivate it through daily habits. It's our thoughts, it's the way we think, it's our actions, and thinking about how we can take some of the strategies today that might resonate with you and make them a healthy habit, tag them on to another habit we have, or replace them with an unhealthy habit. And that's how resiliency is a process, and it builds over time. So it's about exploring and expressing our emotions, controlling how we respond to events, knowing we're all connected and responsible for each other, and becoming stronger so that we can help others become stronger. So 5 steps to building resiliency. So first, it's about the relationships, nurturing those relationships, and having a range of positive, supportive connections inside your family and outside the family. And then finding meaning in difficulties. When faced with adversity, see if you can discover some positive ways in which you've dealt with challenges before, and think about how we've overcome those in the past. We can do that again. People often report improved relationships, greater consciousness, or appreciation of life in the face of great difficulties. And that's what we call post-traumatic growth, being able to bounce back and be able to bounce back stronger from those difficulties and adversities. Being optimistic, using mindfulness to shift our attention from negative to more positive thoughts about the future and the hope we talked about. And then being decisive, making decisions and taking action rather than hoping things will just get better one day. So not making a decision is a decision in itself. So being decisive. And lastly, accepting that change is part of life. Being able to know that change and adversity occur, and our goal can be to cope effectively with change and be adaptable to change. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Mara.
Thank you, Heather. All right, so now we're going to start really talking about those specific strategies. Our wellness team has vetted them. We practice them daily. We wouldn't be in front of you here training on them if we didn't actually go through them and practice those ourselves. These strategies come from evidence-based treatments. They're based in cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, stress reduction, or neuroscience. So you're really going to get a wealth of different strategies. Some may work better than others for you, so it will take some practice to figure out which ones you really want to use. Be thinking about that as we go through these strategies, which you can easily tap into, which resonate with you, so that you can really start to think about incorporating some of these into your daily life. So with that, let's start with just framing why it's important and how emotions do matter. We know that emotions are very important for our attention, for memory, and for learning. We know that depending on what emotions we're feeling, they absolutely influence our decision-making. Emotions are important in our relationships. They affect our health and well-being. They also are important for performance. We know that they're contagious, and we know that negative emotions are actually more contagious than positive ones. So we really need to focus on how do we stay in the positive frame, because that's where we want to be. We want to spread more of the positivity. And we also know that emotions leak. So we may be saying one thing about what we're feeling, but our body, our facial expressions demonstrate what we're truly feeling. If we can learn to identify emotions and feel them, just be able to sit with them, not judge ourselves, but just be able to sit with them, we're able to better navigate through them. For example, anxious emotions will generate anxious interactions. Angry emotions will generate angry interactions, and the same with sad emotions. We want to be able to feel our emotions so we can navigate through them. When we try to stuff our emotions, that's when we struggle. So it's just knowing, feeling, identifying what it is that we're feeling. That way we are able to find our strategies to navigate through those things. So our strategy number one then is S plus R equals E. So if the situation plus the response will always equal our experience. And in that equation, the only thing that we can truly have an effect on is our response. And the more grounded we are, the more we engage in things like mindfulness and really thinking through what are we feeling, why we are feeling, then we are able to have a better experience. So situation is life. Things happen in life that we can't necessarily control. What we can control, and the better we are grounded in our own feelings and our own emotions, that will always equal our experience. We do this often with our students. We talk about situation plus response. It's your response. So the difference between responding versus reacting. And the more grounded you are, we'll talk about breathing techniques, the better experience we're always going to have. So that's one strategy. Just remember that, write it down right there at your table, at your desk. S plus R equals E. And it's a good reminder that we can always control our response. How do we want to respond? Because that's going to make the difference in the experience that we have. The next strategy we want to talk about is savoring the good. And you will have copies of all these slides, so don't worry about taking notes. But just when we talk about savoring the good, start with sensing it. Let it just feel what you're feeling. What are you sensing? Think about it. Think about take it all in. What does it feel like? What are you smelling? What do you hear? Just be aware of all your senses, and then take the time to appreciate. So think about, what are you grateful for? What are you thankful for in the moment? This is about a pause moment. So savor the good, pause, and then you want to be able to visualize. Notice vitality and aliveness. How does the moment enliven you? Just being where you are. Open your heart. Wish yourself and others well. How can you expand the moment by including others? How can you send a message to somebody else, reach out to somebody else? Just send a positive message to somebody. That not only benefits the other person, but it also benefits you, and just sending that positivity out. And then rest, surrender and soften into savoring the experience. And then what does that feel like? So this is, again, really experiencing the pause and savoring the good that's around you. We can always find something good, even in the quietness of a room. Just savor that good. So that is a strategy that we share with you. And then taking care of yourself and taking care of what's important, which is you. We are often taking care of everybody else. We have so many roles that we play throughout the day. I'm a mom, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm an employee, I'm a leader, I'm a staff member. There's so many roles that we play. And so many times we have competing interests and things that we have to address. So self-compassion is something that takes action and intentionality. Self-compassion, it's not just about being kind to myself or saying good things to myself, but it really does take action. So in order to engage in self-compassion practices, you should include all three of these factors, which are mindfulness, common humanity, understanding that, and self-kindness. So when we're talking about mindfulness, it's holding one's painful thoughts and feelings in a balanced awareness rather than over-identifying with them. So just being clear that whatever you're going through, whatever struggles you might be going through, just understanding that you're going through them. Not spending too much time on just how bad it is, but just realizing that these might be struggling times, might be hard times. And then also understanding that your experience is part of the larger human experience, not the only one suffering, where many of us are struggling with the same kinds of things. Recently, Heather and I did a workshop where we were focused on anxiety, and we asked participants, put in the chat some of the things that you're feeling anxious about. And we had over 200 participants, and many of the responses were very much the same, right? Worried about their children, worried about parents, worried about the amount of work that they had and that they were responsible for. And so that's the common humanity, understanding that many of us are struggling with very similar things. And so we're not alone. What we find is that oftentimes when we're struggling with something, we have these feelings that it's just us, and we try to come into ourselves, as opposed to really understanding that you're not alone, that many of us are struggling. And then offering yourself that self-kindness, extending kindness and understanding to oneself rather than harsh self-criticism. We will do that. When we are going through rough patches in life, there will be self-criticism. And so it's just really sitting with yourself, and instead of having that self-criticism and judgment, it's just understanding that, it is just, I can give myself a break, right? Telling yourself it's okay. I have to accept myself as I am, whatever is happening, it's going to be okay, whatever works for you. You want to resonate with something. So we're going to show you a clip of how this really takes all these steps together, and we wanted to share that with you. So Heather, if we can go to that. Thank you.
Are you seeing it?
Yep.
Right.
You just have to hit the play.
Oh, you're right. And how about rewinding it?
There you go.
I don't know anyone who wouldn't benefit from more self-compassion. It makes me nervous, it feels uncomfortable, but I can see how it can be potentially life-changing. Step number 1. Think of a situation in your life that is difficult and causing you stress. Number 2, call the situation to mind and see if you can actually feel the stress and emotional discomfort in your body. Yeah, I can definitely feel it in my neck and shoulders. I know that's where I carry a lot of my anxiety. Okay, step number 3, say to yourself, this is a moment of suffering. This acknowledgement is a form of mindfulness, of simply noticing what's going on for you emotionally in the present moment without judging that experience as good or bad. You can say to yourself, this hurts or this is stress. Use whatever statement feels most natural to you. So, this sucks. How many more days left of this do I have? So just saying this is stress or this sucks, but that's okay. Those are statements that feel natural to me. Step 4, say to yourself, suffering is a part of life. This is a recognition of your common humanity with others, that all people have trying experiences, and these experiences give you something in common with the rest of humanity. Other options include other people feel this way, I'm not alone, or we all struggle in our lives. I think the I'm not alone statement really resonates with me. I think that a lot of other active duty military psychiatrists probably have somewhat of a similar sentiment. Just that knowledge that you're not alone really, really helps. Number 5, put your hands over your heart. Feel the warmth of your hands and the gentle touch of your chest and say, may I be kind to myself. This is a way to express self-kindness. You can also consider whether there is another specific phrase that would speak to you in that particular situation. Examples include, may I give myself the compassion that I need. May I learn to accept myself as I am. May I forgive myself. May I be strong, and may I be patient. Oh, may I learn to accept myself as I am. I think that really hits the nail on the head. May I learn to accept myself as I am.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. So I thought that was just an excellent clip where it really does bring together those 3 factors when we're talking about self-compassion: mindfulness, common humanity, and self-kindness. And these next 2 slides just break down those steps for you. So again, you'll have these slides and we wanted to break those down for you. So in this next slide, the skills we need for the year ahead. And as we looked around the research, what are those skills that we need to keep moving forward as, we keep talking about post-pandemic, and really the year keeps moving along and somewhat chaotic. So research tells us humility is important. In that way, we can have modest views of ourselves and know that we have flaws. And by doing that, we can also look towards others and have more understanding, which builds our compassion. So humility and compassion, and taking the time to still have those sense of awe, right? Looking around at the world around us and finding that awe. We're here looking around, whether it be the weather, I know we don't have a lot of changing of the leaves here, not necessarily right in San Diego proper, but going further out, just what gives us awe. I know standing by the ocean or watching my son do something or talk to me about, something that he's really passionate about, that gives me awe. So find those things that still inspire us and give us those awe. And then having purpose. What is your why? I have a mentor who was my first supervisor when I was at SDCOE, when I started at SDCOE, and she said, stand for something or fall for everything. And that always resonated with me. I know my purpose. I know I get up every single day in my work life and in my home life and as a mother. And so that's very clear to me. And that is my North Star. And that is how I live my life in all those venues. So knowing your purpose, being really clear about your purpose, and then love, finding love, unconditional love for yourself and for those around you. Love really does drive us forward and helps build and solidify our relationships. So those are the skills that we need to hone in on, practice, build up as we continue to struggle with the constant change that we're finding in the world around us. So think about those, build upon those. These are the skills that are going to continue to move us forward during chaotic times. And so with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Heather.
Okay. Let me get back on here. All right. So boundaries. We talked earlier about the importance of balance, and one way to find balance is by setting and maintaining social and psychological boundaries that protect our mental health and our relationships. So just as we wear masks and wash our hands to have those physical boundaries right now because it protects us physically, we also need to have those boundaries to protect us mentally and emotionally. So in the slide here, you can see the healthy boundaries with the dotted line, and on the extreme side we have the limited, which is almost non-existent, so saying yes to everything and overexhausting ourselves. And on the far right we have the rigid wall, where we are not flexible at all and not saying yes to many things. So having the healthy boundaries has that give and take, and so being able to really just adjust our expectations on a day-to-day basis. And some days I know that I cannot give the attention I need to my kids with their homework, whatever it is they might need, and realizing I'm just doing the best I can. Our favorite sociologist, Brene Brown, says, choose what we want to say yes to in our lives. And saying no to others means saying yes to ourselves. So the importance of choosing what we want to say yes to and making sure they align with our values and our goals and our needs. And so setting those healthy boundaries. For me, I'm a huge yoga person, and I have healthy boundaries. I know I can go to yoga if the flexibility is there, and I put it on my calendar like it's a meeting in the evening I go to. But I also know sometimes things come up and I can't go, but I set boundaries to make sure I'm meeting the needs that really can instill wellness for me. So just thinking about how we're setting our own boundaries. What can I say maybe more no to or more yes to? All right, so this is a great strategy called RAIN, and it's really helpful for dealing with strong emotions. And Mara and I and the team, our team, we did a training with Elena Aguilar, who has the book Onward, Cultivating Emotional Resilience for Educators. And we learned a lot of strategies, and this is one that really stuck. And so this is not only used by Elena Aguilar, but it's used by many mindfulness teachers. So it's a great strategy for dealing with, those strong emotions that really a lot of us are experiencing. So it starts with recognize what's going on. Recognize you're experiencing something and kind of just step back in the observation rather than reacting to it. So it is hitting that pause button to be able to just stop and recognize what we're feeling. And then allow the experience to be there just as it is. So just feel it, be with it, sit in it, and experience whatever that emotion is. And then we want to investigate with kindness. So bring an attitude of curiosity, kind of thinking outside the fishbowl, looking in, and kindly ask ourselves, what's going on here? Where is this coming from? And then lastly, natural awareness or noting. And that's really just reminding ourselves that we are not our emotions. We have the thought or feeling, but we are not the thought or feeling. So this again is something, 4 simple steps. We can have this, the slide, you can have this written down on a sticky, whatever, RAIN, and just remembering when we have these strong reactions, emotions, we can use RAIN to be able to use that pause reset. Okay, so one of my favorite strategies is breathing. It's the fastest way to shift emotions. So often when we feel anxious or stressed, we sometimes don't breathe as deeply as we should. And short breaths can really be bad for our bodies and for our brains, and it can actually make us feel more anxious. But by practicing deep breathing, it can help us to just still our mind, to calm our body, and control feelings of stress or anxiety. It actually slows your heartbeat and relaxes those tense muscles we tend to get. So being able to breathe, whether it's a visual or not, but I'm going to invite everybody to do 2 rounds of a simple breathing activity, and often it's helpful to have a visual. So this one is called circle breathing, and let's make sure it's going to work for me. It's weird. So the circle should be expanding in and out, and it's not, and I don't know why. So let's do 2 rounds of 4-7-8 breathing. And 4-7-8 is really helpful because when we do breathe in, we don't tend to breathe out and exhale at the level that we can to release all of that stress and negative energy. And so the best way to do this is to breathe in through the nose and then breathe out through the mouth. So we'll breathe in at the count of 4, hold at the count of 7, and breathe out at the count of 8. So I invite you to participate. So we'll do breathe in at 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hopefully that was helpful. When you get these slides, I'll make sure this breathing, circle breathing, where it's doing the similar thing we just did, but with the visual of the circle expanding and then bringing back in. So breathing, it's, useful to be able to really just use it. It's something we all have. It's free, it's easy, and we can just use the strategy in our back pocket anytime, anywhere, and grab onto breathing. So breathing. All right, so the next strategy is intention setting. And intention setting is a practice that helps us kind of form new stories. It gives our mind direction. So it's how we show up. So we can set an intention before we do anything. But one of the most powerful routines you can integrate into your daily life is an intention setting. So it might be something like, I will be calm and patient with my children today, or I'm going to enjoy that field trip today, or I will be open to feedback in my evaluation meeting. So with those multiple hats that Mata and I have talked about, whether it's a parent, a staff member, being able to set an intention with something. So every day I am a carpool mom. I take my 2 kids and 2 other kids to 2 different schools, and it can be a lot sometimes, 5 days a week. And I use intention setting because I have to really set that intention and remind myself it's not a chore. It's it's a luxury that I get to do that I get to be able to spend time driving away from sitting at a desk all day, enjoying the scenery, and in building relationships with my children and their friends. And so I will connect with the kids in the car this morning. Those kinds of things, anything we can just set ourselves out to do. But it can change the conversation we have in our head. And so intention setting, it's a mental state that represents a commitment of carrying it out. So maybe finding your own intention that resonates with you and practicing that every day. And then affirmations, which are similar, but they're different. So affirmations are a declaration that something is true, where intention setting is a mental state that represents that commitment of carrying it out. So with affirmations, it's important to realize that words are very powerful, and it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And vocabulary matters. The words we use are very powerful. Scary words will elicit scary feelings. Positive words will elicit positive feelings. And so we can think of affirmation, and there's some examples here for reducing anxiety. I can make it through this. I am in charge of my anxiety. I am strong. Just being able every day and to tell yourself, I am strong. I got this. That is powerful. And so what happens is we can be aware of those negative thoughts that we might naturally have come up, and use affirmations to control those negative thoughts. And the science behind affirmations is it raises the level of feel-good hormones that really rewires the brain. And if we can imagine things, we are much more likely to achieve them. So taking, as you see on the slide, an affirmation, creating your own or finding others, and put them on a sticky, make them the alarm setting on your phone or the back setting on your phone or whatever works for you. But just being very intentional about having that affirmation visually available so that you can practice it. And then gratitude. So Mata and I have been very fortunate to spend time with the Greater Good Science Center, doing their summer Mindfulness Institute for Educators, and the whole being able to learn all the science of gratitude it's just building. The research is just continuing to build around the positive impacts of practicing gratitude. And you can see here there are many things it does. It allows for the celebration of the present, which often our mind is always in the past or about tonight or tomorrow. So it brings us to that present. It blocks toxic emotions, like envy, resentment, regret, strengthens social ties and self-worth. And people that practice gratitude are more stress resilient because they're focusing on when we're focusing on what we're thankful for, it helps us to be more resilient when times are tough. So if we can turn towards appreciating the good in our lives, it lessens our anxiety and depression so we can stay calmer in the face of uncertainty. So can you imagine what a whole school community or a whole work community would look like if we all practiced gratitude every day? So it's a powerful tool to use. So what are some ways we can do it? So here are some examples. Show your appreciation to someone who did something nice or kind, and no matter how small it is. We often take for granted what these small things are. Maybe it's just writing a small little note to someone. We express gratitude by doing a kind act or paying it forward. I'll give an example. I was in my yoga class last week, and I have a shoulder injury from, I do yoga sculpt with the weights, so I got a shoulder injury. And I told my yoga teacher that I had a shoulder injury, so I was going to modify and take it easy. And after class, he let me know that he goes, you know that whole segment we did in class without weights, with our arms? He's like, I did that for you because I wanted to help with your healing of your shoulder. And I thought, wow, that was an incredible, kind act. And all it made me want to do was be kind to others that day and pass it forward. And then tell the people in your life how you feel, what they mean to you. So maybe send a text for no reason at all to a person we just really appreciate, but we often take for granted and assume they know. And when we send these messages that are just out of nowhere, it can really touch somebody and create a great appreciation. So recognizing the things in your life that are going well, no matter how small they may be. And then this is a gratitude reframe. So again, we often will go to negative thoughts, and where we put our attention determines how we feel. So if we focus on negative, we're going to feel negative. So how can we reframe things to flip it to really have a gratitude reframe? So some examples here: being stuck in traffic. We can still be grateful for the car, the roads, a place. We actually have a place to go to and the ability to drive. And for me, I always remind myself, I'm not at my desk. This is an incredible break on my eyes and being able to see the beautiful world that's out there. Catching a cold, I'm grateful for my body's ability to heal itself. Work stress, I'm grateful to have a job, sense of purpose, ability to be productive, I'm making money. Kids misbehaving, I'm grateful to have children, the ability to shape another human's life in a positive way. And really any unfortunate event, we can learn in that situation, what am I being reminded to practice, notice, or reprioritize? So if we focus on those people we love, or that feeling of just loving others or loving ourselves, whatever it might be, then we will experience more joy and love. All right, and then webs of support. So earlier we talked about the importance of connectedness, and so how can we do this? This is called webs of support. It could be called relationship mapping. And just as we always say a student should have 3 or more non-parent care and adult relationships in their life, so should us adults. So who are our 3 go-to people we can go to help us with just navigating day-to-day challenges, and just to be a human and be able to have someone to connect with. So there's emotional. My example is my very best friend. I can go to any time in the night, the day, got my back 24/7, non-judgmental. It's incredible to have that feeling. Informational. Who's the person that you can go to for information? So one of my other best friends is a physician assistant. Incredible, right? My kids are sick or they have a rash. I can just reach out and be like, what do I do? What does she have? And so getting that critical information. And then practical. I'm a carpool mom. So the other carpool mom, she gets the kids in the afternoon. I get them in the morning. But it goes beyond that. If the kids want to get together and go to the mall on the weekend, I'll drop, you pick up. Or if I have to go out of town, she's got me. She's got the kids. And so think about, who are your 3 go-to people. What research shows, if you want to improve your health, hang out with healthy people. If we hang out with negative people, that permeates over to us. So think about those 3 people carefully, and who do I feel safe with? Who do I trust? Who are positive to bring into my web? And then last one, thought check. So studies have shown that trying to erase or silence a thought, it's not effective, but if we can replace a thought, a negative thought, with a coping thought, it's more likely we'll be able to keep that negative or anxious thought out of our mind. So it's, helpful to be able to catch ourselves in these thoughts. So examples here: I don't want to disappoint the people I work with. A coping thought would be trying to please everyone is impossible, especially when all of us are struggling to work from home. Just let it go. And you can see here, Mata talked about self-compassion. Really what we're doing is giving ourselves that self-compassion, and also we're setting boundaries, right? I can't stand being stuck at home during the pandemic. That's kind of dated one, but I've been through more difficult things. I'll survive. I can't help worrying about whether I'm infected or not. Worrying won't change if I have it or not. It only upsets me. And also worrying takes us away from being in the moment. And then I can't handle going to the store right now. You can see examples there. So think about thought checks. I'm going to hand it over to Mata for some practical tips before we end with resources. So, Mata.
Great, thank you, Heather. All right, so some practical tips is also very important. The daily self check-in. It's a 5-minute checklist. Sometimes we're so into the rush of everyday life that need to, again, take that pause and have we eaten our regular meals? Many of us are into, there's so much going on, there's so much work that we're not even eating our regular meals. And many of us, when we were still, not all of us are still working from home, but have we showered? Have we, taken care of our daily needs? Comparing our lives to others. That is something that, we'll see a lot of this in social media. And the reality is just staying in our own zone where we are. Comparing ourselves to others, then we would have to know everything about everyone else. We can only know what's going on in our lives. So really, it's about focusing on what's going on with us, getting enough sleep. We have a whole other slide on this, but sleep is so critically important. Resting, it's when our brain is able to flush out that which is not needed and really rejuvenate itself. And have we been thinking kind thoughts to ourselves? Again, that self-compassion. Have we moved our bodies? There are times where we are in front of these screens working nonstop, that when we do finally get up, we find our bodies aching. So we need to really build in those times to get up, stretch, go outside, get some fresh air, and then connecting with those that you love, right? How are we doing that? What are the things that we're doing? So I go out of my way. I send texts to my sons. So I have 2 sons, and I tend to be a little wordy on my texts, and they're like, thanks, Mom. So fine, I'll take that. But connecting with those that we love. I have my father is living alone, so I am constantly checking up on him. Finally got him to understand FaceTime, so doing that every night with him now, and it's just made a world of difference. So really keeping him connected and making sure that I'm checking in, it's made a world of difference already. So those things, just daily check-in, making sure that those that we love, that they're also taking care of themselves, and that we're going out of our way to check in with them. The next one is about that sleep. So we know that oftentimes when things are chaotic around us, when we're struggling with so much, that it creates anxiety. And so we want to be able to really focus on sleep, because when we have sleepless nights, research shows that it will result in a 30% increase in anxiety the next day. So eliminate light stimulation at least 1 hour before bed. Replace your activating thoughts with relaxing ones. Establish a ritual before going to bed. So that's really important. So that way your body, your mind starts to understand, okay, it's downtime, we're starting to go to bed. So establish that ritual that works for you. Establish that consistent bedtime and wake up times. And then avoid napping, because that could absolutely disrupt your sleeping time. And use relaxing breathing to prepare for sleep. Just calm the body down, take in the deep breaths, tell yourself your mantra that's going to help you get to that sleep. The other tip that is really important that we want to talk about is dealing with bad news days. And there's been a lot of that for a long time now. And this resource comes from Laura Willis. She has an organization that's called Shine Offline, and that business it specializes in mindfulness and digital detoxing. And so what she says is make space. Engage in moments of mindfulness to allocate pockets of time from the outside world and reconnect with your present. Turn off news alerts. Check in when you want to check in, not because we have all these alerts going on our digital devices. Buy an alarm clock. Waking up to a smartphone increases the likelihood that you will start off your day reviewing the news or all those notifications, and then that can already affect our emotions, right? And so our emotions affect our thoughts and our behaviors. So get an alarm clock, old school alarm clocks, so we're not necessarily just jumping right into the news. And then stop absorbing or mix hard news with lifestyle news. So look for bloggers who write about your hobbies, those things that you're interested in. So you get to choose those things that are going to bring meaning and maybe joy to your life. And then stop absorbing news before bed. Switch off the news on whatever platform at least an hour before bed. Research shows that those that read about news before going to bed are more likely to have fitful or broken nights when they're supposed to be getting our sleep time. And then take back control of your consumption. Seek out publications that suit you. Stick to news forums where the editorial policy fits your sensitivities, your lifestyle. And then strike back at negative news. And this means sometimes the healthiest response to concerning issues is to do something about them. So think about how you might contribute in a meaningful way, either volunteer, collect clothing, donate to food banks. So not just absorbing the negative news, but doing something about that. All right, another tip, write things out. So there's so many writing prompts, there's notebooks, there's books that you can get with already the prompts already printed out for you. You know, we can start with, it was a dark, stormy night, finish that off. A red box appeared at the door. I remember men, anything that you want to do. A good strategy is to set a timer for 10 minutes and continue writing for the entire time. And don't worry about the grammar or the spelling. It's just about the process of doing it. Enjoy the experience, write whatever comes to mind. You can make lists, the to-do list. I recently read an article about creating a to-be list. So I want to be happy, joyful, fun, loving, grateful, kind. Instead of that to-do list, create a to-be list. Write about a memory. It's just the process of doing, so it's mindfulness and it's being present. Put that timer on for 10 minutes and just start writing out what you're feeling. Another tip is to really focus on the elements of self-care. So we consider elements of self-care to be all-encompassing. So think about, how are you taking care of yourself physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, professionally, and personally. So when we think about self-care, think about the analogy of these 6 spokes are the bottom of a chair, and it's steady when all 6 are balanced. But if one starts to become unbalanced or 2 start to become unbalanced, then the chair is wobbly, right? So that really reflects our life. So we want to be balanced across the arena, or those spokes of the elements of our self-care. So you'll have a copy, like I said, of these slides, and they give ideas for each one of those. The important thing to remember is that we want to find balance. Everyone is experiencing significant disruptions as we continue to go on with all that we're experiencing in society right now. So we want to make sure that you think to yourself, how are you taking care of your mind and your body? Your body is your first priority. You should be taking care of your basic physical needs. So make sure you schedule that time in for sleep, nutrition, staying hydrated. And then your mind, pleasurable activities, using mindfulness, staying present so you can notice and relish the activity of the world around you and your full potential. And spirit, schedule even short periods of mental breaks and social connection. Like I mentioned, my FaceTime with my dad, texting my sons, just making sure that I'm reaching out. And everything that we shared with you today, it's important that you evaluate the strategies. Consider everything that we shared. Will they reduce our stress or other unwanted emotions? Are these strategies going to lead to better health and well-being? Are they going to support the development of more healthy life habits, contribute to more positive relationships, help us solve our problems, or achieve the goals that are important to us? We don't want to just share these strategies and you try to pick the ones that aren't really going to do all this for you. So narrow it to a couple, practice those. If they don't work, then pick another one. And these are just some that we're sharing. There's a whole host of strategies out there. So pick a couple, work with them, see if they work. And if not, then choose another. It's just about doing something that's going to get us to that place where we're building our resiliency and our mental health strength, or our mental strength. And so with that, we're going to talk now about resources, and we have a lot there to share with you. So Heather?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to quickly share many resources. Just know you'll have time on your own to dive into these. So the first one is Fit On. It's an incredible app, website that gives you free access to just every kind of way you could possibly move your body. We didn't talk much about it, but all of the research shows as much as we can get up and move our body, whether it's kickboxing, dancing, walking, workout. There are incredible instructors on here, and they also have different things around the practices we shared today around intention setting, mindfulness, breathing. So it's just so much at your fingertips there. Also, Mental Health America is a great resource. They have a free, confidential self-screening that can be done for anxiety, for different kinds of mental health challenges that you might be experiencing. There's also one for youth that they can take. And once you go on there, answer several questions, it just gives you some links and resources and information based on your findings. So that's an incredible way to do a self-screening and check in with yourself. Then we recently created the staff wellness tip sheet for mental health, and it's really everything on here that's green writing is a link to whether it's a article, a video, a step-by-step guide on how to do these things. So again, like that self-compassion video you saw, this link takes you to that. Accessing the warm line. How do you create a web of support? I talked about it, but this actually lays it out with step-by-step guide. So knowing you can tap into many more resources here. We recently launched, and we're very excited because we put a lot of time and thought into this, a virtual wellness center. And it is a place for any adults, staff, students, families to go and be able to just kind of find a calm space to reset and to tap into a variety of different calming activities that you can have at your fingertips. So there are things around, there's calming apps, there's coloring, there's music, there's video cams, there's stress and anxiety relief things, mindfulness, and it just goes on and on. So this is the live link here. You can go and explore and share it far and wide. It's really meant to be there to get it out there so all can access it. And then today's strategies and content were really a compilation of many different organizations and different researchers and speakers and so forth. So we put together a list of where much of it came from. And so you can click on the different links here to go much deeper into the research and other strategies and articles and so forth. And then on the right are just some more apps for well-being that you can also find on our virtual wellness center. And then we would like to close with this quote here that from Brene Brown that you can read, but while you do read that, I want to hand it over to Deidre Koleski, who will be sharing another resource to leave you all with. So handing it over, and I'll stop sharing our screen.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I am Deirdre Kleski with the County of San Diego's Chronic Disease and Health Equity Unit. I'm here to share a resource called Tools for Schools. It's an online searchable resource database, and I'm going to share my screen right now so you can see it. This is part of the Live Well Schools website. And the heart of this website, there's a lot of resources, but the heart of it is the Tools for Schools resource database with over 300 resources on a variety of topics. And there are even Spanish key terms that you can search on. So based on all the amazing information that Heather and Mara shared today, I might want to search on the word mindful and see that there are 3 different resources that come up. And a lot of these resources are for things that people can use at home, but they're also for for teachers and nonprofit organizations that work with children. So if I were to type in social emotional, I would get a lot of resources. You can choose up to 100 resources on a page. And as you can see, there's a lot of resources to choose from. You could also put in mental, and any resource that has the word mental health in it or a keyword of mental health will show up then. And that includes county behavioral health services resources as well. So I encourage you to look at this website. I will put the link in the chat. And also, if you have any resources you'd like to put on the tools for schools, you can see that there's an email for Pam Smith there. So I just want to leave you with one more piece of information that as an added bonus, there's a funding opportunity coming soon. If you are with a public school or district, the San Diego County Office of Education is offering grants of $50,000 to $250,000 to eligible public schools and districts to implement health education in grades K through 12 with a goal to develop health literate students. The applications will start in December. They'll be rolling, so there's no specific deadline. And many of the things in health education tie back to some of the concepts that we heard today related to mental health and social and emotional learning and wellness. For more information, you can contact Paige Metz at the County Office of Education, but you'll be learning more about this if you are in the field of health education. So thank you very much for the time to share this resource with you.
And that concludes our presentation this afternoon at 3:29, perfect timing. I want to sincerely thank Mata and Heather for their presentation. Great tips, words to live by. I really enjoyed it. And thank you, Deirdre, for sharing that infinite wealth of resources. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of the conference. Be well, and make sure if you'd like to get this information that you check out the summit section, school summit section on the Connection Hub to get access to the materials. Have a great day, everyone.